Originally produced by our team at Ingenuity Radio in 2002, Searching for the New Liberalism is a 9-part series adapted for this podcast, The Life of a Servant.
Welcome to Part 6. This segment focuses on economic issues and features Robert Greenhill, Barry Appleton, Kimon Valaskakis, Robert Richardson, Dennis Mills, Sandford Borins, and Jerry Grafstein.
So the first person is Robert Greenhill, who will be commenting on myself. Introducing myself, let me just say, as a Western Canadian living in Montreal today, I'm hoping to help deal with what John Duffy referred to as demographic imbalance earlier. When Dr. Ackrady referred to Walton Gordon's 3 elements to take away, I guess one of the elements I take away from this is one of the key themes is liberalism in 2002 is all about global engagement in a very practical and concrete sense. I think low tax ratings on the homes code, on security issues, on international ethical and public policy issues, borders don't matter as much. Having a global approach does. What I found very interesting is Michael Phelps, in his economic comment, came very much to the same conclusion. And that I quote, economic policy is about creating great corporations on a global scale. And it's clear to those of us who are involved in business on an international scale, and as President of Bavardi's international line, literally in the plane all the time in China, India, Russia, and elsewhere, competing with some of the big giants, being these some others around the world. And it's clear today you either great or you were gone. Mediocrity was always the same. Now it's a fatal characteristic. And if we wish to, as a country and as an economy, be able to thrive in the future and provide the economic wherewithal for all the different social programs we were talking about, it's clear that we need to set as our target to be great on a global scale. But the implications of that, Michael Phelps had 2 very specific points. First is we do need to think about backing champions that can compete on a global scale like the Nokias can from Finland. Secondly, there could be irritancy from the tax policy level and accounting differences that actually cause transaction costs for people thinking of investing here or corporations who are investing abroad compared to close activity taking place in the United States. I'd also add to that 3 implications for us in our considerations today. First, I think we need to fundamentally reconsider our attitude towards the United States. Some of the comments I heard here today reminded me of attitudes from the Vietnam War era. And let me share with you a secret. I, as a proud Canadian, think the United States is an extraordinary country. And I think the world is a better place for its creation and continued existence. And it's not a dumb giant. With 670 years, the top 1,000 scientists around the world, it's a great place of learning. I also happen to believe that from 1867, Canada was designed to be a superior system of governance than the United States. And so I guess my first description is, let's not focus on bitching about the United States. Let's focus on how we're going to beat the United States. And as a corporate executive, what I would like to see us engaged in is how we can, together, all different stakeholders, figure out ways to make Canada the preferred global platform for people wanting to engage in the North American economy. And David Pico had actually on his slide as one of the key elements to Toronto, and it states all the Canadian cities, will be how do we get the Asian and European headquarters to actually locate here to see this as their value-added entry point into the North American economy. And that's part of a different mindset that we should engage, not a defensive one, but a proactive one, and a constructively aggressive one. I would say, secondly, we should also think out, of course, that global engagement means. And we should come up with a very coordinated approach across the diplomatic corps, across what we're doing in defense, what we're doing in the corporate world as well, so that we can, in an integrated fashion, project the soft power of what Canadian values can really represent. And I'm not sure that's liberalism, that's a loaded phrase. But there is something which is Canadianism, which is practical idealism that's going to work in a step-by-step way to make the world a better place, which is very powerful on the political level. It's also very powerful on a corporate and economic level, and it resonates with many of the societies who want to engage in the global marketplace, but share some of our concerns about doing it without any consideration for social implications. But this will require a much more coordinated approach across the private and public sector, provincial and federal governments as well, and it will require more funds. The third element is I think we should also have an expansive attitude towards what it is to be Canadian and where Canadians should continue to be involved in this development of Canadianism. One of the interesting things I heard today was the idea of the Canadian diaspora, and not the idea of a brain thing, but a brain exchange. And economically and politically, how powerful it would be if we continue to have Canadians outside Canada continue to be engaged. And all the students and others who came to Canada, who learned to love much of what we represent and are now back in China and India and elsewhere, consider to feel themselves honorary Canadians. And there are practical ways put in place whereby we can continue to involve them. The implications of doing those three things right, I think, is that it will allow us to, on an economic level, become globally more competitive. It will also, I think, reinforce the idea of what Pierre Trudeau said many years ago, to be a citizen of Canada is to be a citizen of the world. And the challenge for Canada and the Canadian government is to make sure that Canada again becomes a leading citizen of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have Barry Appleton commenting on Tom Atchison.
Well, Tom paper invites us to challenge some of our long-standing perceptions about the United States. And he's doing them as provocative, and I would say controversial public policy prescription that proposes a way to Canadians to regain a sense of greatness on a global scale. And we could accept that from Tom, and he has done that. But not only has he given us a goal, he's actually set out in his paper a very specific economic roadmap how to get there. Now, the devil's in the details. The fact of the matter is that we could have an entire conference just talking about your paper, Tom. But there is something there for us to really get our teeth into and to be able to engage and to discuss. And that to me is the real idea of what you want to do at a conference like this. And I really think you should commend you for it. So now that we've finished commend you, let me add a couple of comments, things you might have left out, but some areas where I think might be relevant for discussion. So first point, I think you make very valid, and that is our capacity to work with the United States and the international system is fairly insufficient. It is definitely an area that we need to deal with. This is not new. We should have had the full point at the Kingston conference almost 50 years ago, where in fact these various same issues have been talked about. But what happened is that the United States has changed. The U.S. has changed fundamentally. It's not just a superpower. It's not just a friendly neighbor to the south. It really is in real terms a hyperpower, and I think that's very important for us to underscore, because the special relationship has been forgotten. Or in other words, our perception that somehow we are the best friends of the United States. The U.S. has special relationship with Mexico and with the United Kingdom and with Barbados and with Jamaica and Belize and a whole pile of countries. What we believe is that special monogamous relationship doesn't exist anymore. And we are different. We have credibility problems. I've had U.S. cabinet secretaries tell me that they don't always believe us when we call them up on the phone. I think that's a rather perplexing type of problem. So credibility is an issue. But we also have a problem, and fundamentally, we are a non-voting lobby group in Washington. We are their largest trading partner, but let's forget that. We are just another interest, and we have no vote. So either the November elections, so maybe 50 seats at all, not one of them says Canada. And as a result, we have very significant issues that we need to address, but we don't rank in the whole of Dutchland. So, Tom, I think that you've addressed some of the issues in your paper. You've actually pointed out, I think very rightly, that the messaging for the ambassadors who basically cabinet level, they retain all types of lobbyists and lawyers and people like that. They don't need to be lawyers. We need to be lobbyists because we do everything through our embassy. And we just can't deal with a myriad issues. And then we talk about issues right now, from our perspective, Baltic lumber, wheat, cultural issues, energy issues. Those could teach the entire staff of our embassy on any one of them, and we have all of them, and there's significant impact to us upon. The second issue then is, how do these Canadians then try to contain this American deep? And in fact, you use that by rules-based systems like NASA. And to the extent that rules and things like NASA have worked, they've worked very well to steal those things. We saved ourselves tremendous problem because steel was in NASA. Our problem is, all of those big hot issues I just gave you are all outside of NASA. They're all exempt. And so the U.S. can do whatever it wants, and we have no way of constraining them in the face of real domestic politics and in the political system. That's the real problem. Canadians have to find a way to deal with that. And until we can deal with that, we're going to have ongoing problems. And it's like every region of this country, and there's significant issues with that. Of course, one of the issues that we do have that's so useful there is that some issues, like regional development, are actually committed by NASA, but many issues should have been better. And that's another point that you both have talked about. And that's the process of citizen engagement in these agreements needs to be made better. And as we look at new ways, a liberal government would have to consider the future. How do you get people to better engage and better legitimate that process, or else you can't engage in it? The old agreement, the structure of the Richardson post-Second World War trade agreement, those are over. We have to find a new way, a better way to engage. The final point I want to talk about is the discussion that you've had, which I think is really very interesting, talking about selling counter as a place of ideas. These are the types of programs that are, by the way, very controversial. You're talking about giving up immediate self-gratification. Nobody in politics ever wants to sell an electorate that they have to give out. But you're saying, we're going to give you something better if you work with us. We're going to give you something that is worth being in Canada for. That was the reason that Canada developed what it did at the turn of the last century. People came here, it was very painful, it was very difficult, but to something better in the future. As a country and as a government, we haven't done very much about that. Now, that's not to say the deficit issue was not important. It was absolutely critical. So that's basically under control now. Our so right now might disagree. I'm not sure the economists are not. But the fact of the matter is that it's time for a new direction. If we want to be able to guarantee that have the distinctive Canadian social program, the Canadians often define themselves by our health care. How you engage in these types of programs, you need to have, in essence, the war check. It's called the trust fund to do that. I think you still out the first really controversial but interesting proposal as to how to do that. It may not mean that it's going to be easy. It may not mean that it's politically accessible, by the way. And that's worthy of discussion. But I think that it's a very interesting idea that really merits real consideration. And I just have to commend you for engaging in the type of good idea that I think that needs to be getting your conflict like that.
Thank you, Barry. And next we have Kimon Valaskakis on Northern American Paper.
Thank you, Ron. On the whole, I like Lorna's paper quite a lot, and rather than repeat it, what I'm going to do is focus on one issue, which I think is extremely important, and this is the issue of innovation and innovation strategy. From the vantage point of international comparisons, anything back in my years, I think Canada does not have an innovation strategy as of yet. I hope that the innovation strategy that is coming up will be very interesting and effective. But I think the best we have so far, the best we have had historically is an invention. And the distinction between invention and innovation is that invention is in the realm of ideas, and innovation is in the realm of economics. If an idea is not translated into economics, and the topic of this panel, of course, is the economics of it, then it's not really an innovation. If you look at the economic history of Canada, the technology history of Canada, you find that Canada is a net exporter of ideas, the net exporter of people, good ideas, and a net importer of machines and software that embody these ideas. In fact, for a long time, the chief thing was if you look at the history of an inventor or innovative, they say, well, it was invented in Canada, patented in the US, manufactured in Asia, and was imported in China. So basically, we have perhaps synthesized team up the ideas level, the invention level, not just the innovation. There's a temptation to go abroad, to see the Canadian diaspora abroad is extremely great. So this means that the history of science and technology in Canada could be interpreted as a history of missed opportunities. If you look at the number of missed opportunities where we didn't go all the way, you can track back all the way to Earl Post and the Admiral Arrow, which never became what it could have become, which should have been the basis of a very important aerospace industry in Canada. If you look at the first word processor, the first word processor ever was invented in Montreal by AES Ultra. And they never had this support. They never managed to go ahead. The result was that Rand in the US developed word processing and lots of other computers became much more general. The Polygon was the video check for the 70s. It was supposed to be, well, the 80s, and was supposed to compete with the Minitel, and it never actually came to fruition, so that was another missed opportunity. I think basically one of the things we have to do in terms of public policy, we have to look at why you're missing these opportunities and look at the bottleneck. I think one of the bottlenecks is the adversarial issue that we had. We have the federal, provincial, municipal, and that means that it takes too long between a good idea and its execution. In fact, it takes so long that the temptation is to take it abroad. And from that point of view, I think although it makes sense to have a very active research strategy and a very active pure research strategy, I think it's not to be complemented by the strategy of the past people who have had the education abroad and even here, and focus not on an invention strategy, but on an innovation strategy. If you look at the case of the US, US has more Nobel Prize winners than the rest of the world, but most of them were not born in the US, and they weren't used. That's only fair in the US, they came abroad and they came there. So I would say that in the context of Canada's competitiveness, Canada's take in the world, you should focus on developing a balanced strategy. Use higher people of higher learning to fit into an overall economic strategy, which could include backing its champions, which could include selective occupational niches, rather than trying to do everything and ending up educating deferred scientists who then will go to MIT or Caltech or elsewhere to bring to fruition their inventions.
Thank you. Next is Richardson. Thank you very much, and thanks to David for an excellent presentation. I was one of the organizers of the Toronto City Summit, so I've had the benefit of seeing the presentation twice now, and it had a similar reaction last time. And what it tells us is that Toronto, and it's really other Canadian cities as well, have a great future if we get the fundamentals right over the next short period of time. It's clear that we're at a crossroads on urban issues, and we need to act now. And it's only going to happen if urban issues are on the radar screen of the fellow political decision makers, both at the elected and at the bureaucratic level. And I would argue that it's not, it's better than it was 12 months ago, but it's not on the radar screen in any way that it needs to be. I have to illustrate that better than an excellent presentation of John again at the Toronto City Summit by Joe Barry, who's a partner in urban strategy. He did an analysis of issues of concern that were brought up in the last session of the House of Commons. And the farm income prices came up 700 times. Issues related to the Farm Credit Corporation came up 252 times. Agriculture subsidies came up 162 times. And the issues related to the forest industry came up 109 times. Public transit came up 31 times. Homelessness, 19. Smog and air pollution, 19. Issues related to HIV/AIDS, 50. and issues related to housing 112. So what it clearly demonstrates is that urban issues are not yet on the radar screen in the manner that they need to be, either at the political or the bureaucratic level in Ottawa. And 80% of Canada's population live in a few large urban areas, so we got to ask, why are the issues not breaking through at the federal level? And probably three areas we need to take a look at. One is the structure of the federal government. It's archaic when it comes to urban issues. There are literally thousands of bureaucrats in Ottawa on a daily basis working on issues related to forests, related to farms, and related to fish, but there's virtually no one responsible for an urban agenda. So there has to be some balance put back in the overall structure and organization of the federal government. So what's required is something I think that the actor said earlier, is some new architecture in Ottawa when it comes to urban issues. An urban affairs minister, a deputy minister, a penetration of the bureaucracy of PCO and Treasury Board and Cabinet Committee on urban issues too as well, if they are going to come to the fore. The second thing that is required is a new relationship between the city and the federal government. There is a view of some that the cities are a creature of the province, and therefore the federal government bears no responsibilities for issues related to them. I think that's a dated view, and it's a dangerous one, and it's one that really needs to change. We do need new relationships. We need a new financial relationship, as particularly one of the chart eloquently shows. You can't build infrastructure in a major urban area on the back of property taxpayers. There has to be, particularly when you have some of the social issues that are faced in Vancouver, in Montreal, or Toronto. It has to be a national effort. It has to be an effort at all three levels of government. We're also wasting some talent and some opportunity too. For instance, in the area of immigration, very little contact between the city and senior federal officials on as it relates around immigration. Doesn't make sense. That needs to change. I talked to a senior bureaucrat in the city of Toronto, one of the most senior ones. It's a $6 billion jurisdiction, larger than 4 or 5 provinces. Virtually no interaction over a year with any deputy minister at the federal level, and whether it's financing, environment, infrastructure, which the provinces have to sign off on. So it's that sort of interaction that needs to change. And finally, I would argue that the Liberal Party needs to focus its party policy machinery more on urban issues, and we need a much stronger urban platform for an each election. I think it's important for us to do these things, because if we don't get an urban transformation and a structural change in Ottawa, a new relationship with cities, a stronger urban platform, the Liberal Party will become increasingly irrelevant to the 80% of Canadians who live in urban areas. So it's important, as David noted, we should be optimistic about cities' prospects over the next 10 years, and the proper structure with a new relationship and with a solid platform. There's no reason why over the next 10 years you couldn't have a renaissance for Canadian cities. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Bob. And last but by no means least on the program is my parliamentary colleague, Dennis Mills.
Your paper, but I would like to ask the question, why is this policy challenge not being addressed? Because this condition just hasn't come upon us in the last couple of years. And I want to go back to something that John Roberts said earlier, and Brooke Jeffrey, and he refers to the fact that we used to be a party that tried to narrow the gap between the advantage and the disadvantage. And that was part of the reason why I became pro-involved in the Liberal Party. And just referred to Galbraith's book on the culture of contentment. And what we have in our country right now is a population where 65, almost 70% of the country is in the advantaged position. They're feeling pretty content. And as the government, every month, when you look at polls, you see we're the most popular government in Canadian history, month after month, year after year.
So when you go towards the executive of government and say, look here, I represent a downtown routing where I have people living on the street, needing more affordable housing. I've got kids going to hospitals every day because we're not dealing with climate change, we're not dealing with smog, we're not dealing with transportation issues. Son, stop complaining, look up the numbers. This will talk this. And what has been so magnificent about this experience here today for me, Tom, is it has brought me back to 1980 when we used to deal with causes rather than polls. And I can actually remember then, you took on caucusy, you went against the wind, they weren't popular. And if we got a bump in the polls from 19 to 21 in a month, we all went down to Modesties and celebrated what a great month for over 20. The notion that we would dare today, as liberals, to take on or have the courage to risk becoming unpopular is not a very appealing exercise. This room here, it's not a, I've had a scene from that I call genuine liberals in the last 10 years in one room. But the notion of saying, let's see some things, especially in the transportation area, where you may have to be interventionist, we may have to regulate trucking lobbies. We may even have to say to our automotive sector, which David Pitot so brilliantly described as one of our cornerstones, we may have to say to our auto industry, look here, guys, you're going to have to fast-track your technology in automobile emissions. Or we may have to say to the oil industry, we may have to fast-track the implementation of biodiesel, which this university develops and sell online. So you don't seem to have that courage because it's all still unpopular, because it goes against the culture of the advantage. And so, as we're searching for a new liberalism, my view is that unless we really have the courage to risk becoming unpopular, because a lot of these decisions that we're going to have to take are high risk and their communication challenges beyond. I think that unless we take on that risk, then we're essentially walking away from our roots. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dennis, and the floor is now open. Tom, Lord, you got to bear something for me here. The media poll last week on Fox was quite striking. That the comment coming for the protein or one report that 43% of the people who responded that they're under serious threats can work 39 on their own time on just I got to put them together as a basically they're together only one. And 82% of our people are under serious threats, with 1 in 5 actually some point in their personal life actually taking the health community suicide. If you encounter with each program at them and Lorna, in terms of what you can, we're banning our students and younger throwing themselves off the base. So the question now is, how do you score these guys at Bobo with this kind of information? I'm Sandford Borins. I'm the professor of public management at the University of Toronto. I want to commend Chris Jones on his clear analysis of this transportation issue. And I want to push the continuum a bit further. And this is to suggest that the most efficient answer to the problem of implicit subsidization of the automobile is road pricing. Road pricing using the technology that already exists on Highway 407, namely a combination of transponders and video imaging. By way of a bit of personal experience, I was on the board of the Ontario Transportation Capital Corporation, which is responsible for building 407. I was appointed by Bob Ray and the conservatives
decided that the Ford went political hash, and so they kept it around. The interesting thing that I saw was that if you remember, the highway was opened about 4 months before the technology was working. And so Highway 407 was for 4 months of freeway. And we were deathly afraid that public opinion, and I should say, by the way, that public opinion looked up by the provincial Liberal Party, was going to conclude that Highway 407 was better as a freeway and forget about this polling and, go with it that way. But that wasn't the way things worked out. Public opinion was supportive of keeping folks on Highway 407. This time it's become a non-issue, and I think it's proven the acceptability of highway polling in an urban setting. Among regret, though, is that Highway 407 is privatized. That was done for ideological reasons. There was no need to do that. If you go to the point that David Pico raised about finding new revenue streams, and similarly upon Acquary's point about the need for new revenue sources without increasing the deficit and maintaining income tax cuts. Well, consider the following. If you were to use road pricing on Highway 401, the Don Valley Parkway, the Gardner, you're talking about a very large revenue stream. It should be devoted to environmental uses, urban transit, all sorts of roads that this could be used. And it seems to me, of course, there's looking for revenue streams that are consistent with new liberalism. This is an obvious one. Let's see the there, dude. But wait, what it is says. In 1964, I organized a thing called the Journal Liberal Thought to foment liberal ideas, and the first article I thought was to do something on urban affairs, and I sought out a young lecturer in Manitoba by the name of Lord Oxley, who wrote a paper called Towards an Urban Policy. And yet he said in that paper, and I recall it, even though I hadn't read it for 2 decades, it was 4 decades ago that he wrote it, so I said we needed a policy from the federal government focused on housing, taxation, transportation, in the city as a trading, urban, thinking flow. So I suggest to you, David, if you want to really take a look at history, nothing has happened in the last 4 decades other than the problems have become more intense, that the Bible was all set out way back then, and I think it's showing the test of time. I want to talk about the Canada-U.S. relationship. I've been chairman now of the Canada-U.S. Interparliamentary Group for close to a decade. I've got to know, I guess, 3,000 senators on a first-name basis, and can also handle congressmen on a first-name basis, so I can pick them up and call them as readily as I can call Tom or say Lloyd. And what I discovered, to my amazement, and you continue to be amazed, is notwithstanding the fact that 85% of our trade is now with the United States and 8% of their trade is with us, we don't even appear on the screens anywhere at any time. Even when the Prime Minister makes a controversial statement, it's picked up in one or two newspapers, but quite frankly, Schroeder says something that perhaps more controversial, and he's on every newspaper and every television station across America, but we just don't make the scene. Now, why is that? Why is it that Mexico, since NAFTA, is better positioned in the United States politically than we are? Well, first of all, their diaspora, the Mexican diaspora, is large and tribal. But we have a larger diaspora in the United States, and we in Canada don't even know about it. We don't even know about it. For example, when I tried to organize something called the Canada Loves the U.S. Weekend, I went down to the General in New York, and I said, now, if you want to get a lot of Canadians in the United States to come to this event, and we know in New York State there's a lot of Canadians, how many are there? I don't know. So I discovered by a lot of different means that there's over 1 million Canadians living in New York State that have deep ties to Canada, large relationships with it, and we don't need to talk the French. The French. You see, Iraq knows more about French in Canada than we know about Canadians in America. Example, in the last election, a cousin of mine, the Richardson, was enchanting manages his Iraq in Canada. He collected the votes because they don't tell us to vote in the French election. So I sent a letter to the Prime Minister about this. I said, Prime Minister, find out for me
how many Canadians live in the United States? And I got a very wonderful letter back a month or two later saying, I can't really tell you because you really won't know. And even if you knew, it's private and it's conflict of interest and it's hard to see. I just sort of put it up on the wall of phone. Typical answer. We have a huge economic interest in knowing where those Canadians are because they, in fact, can do a lobby state in the United States and we don't know who they are. Now I want to deal with the self-proposition about culture failure. Here's a glowing example of where the government and corporate tenants, even when we have a huge competitive advantage, have dropped the ball. And what is it? It's sustainability. It's the most important report that's come down in energy in the last decade. And what does the sustainability report say? And really see, because you're a co-tenant in the U.S., it's very copies. She's got the first copy right off the senior's desk, and the seniors on in Congress, the guy being Senator Franklin Helsey, who will be the next governor of Alaska, came down to the meeting and handed me the first report and says, Julie's for way for us to work together. And what's the report say? It's very simple. It is more important, quote Francie Lord, than the preemptive strike function of the United States as it applies to Canada. But the fun in that report was that for us. He said, that's the way to trade it for five. He says, we want to have energy that's secure, and therefore, what does that mean? We're prepared to cost subsidize supply. Now, who is the biggest supplier of energy in the United States? Outside the Middle East? Canada. Said we dropped the ball. And what Senator McCarthy wanted was us to build a pipeline from Alaska down to Canada. And he said, well, wait a second, there's a problem with that. He said, we're going on the other side. And Sandford of the pipeline, which is the greatest company in the world, where we have a competitive advantage, we build the best pipelines in the bloody world, and they're involved partially. But this is an opportunity for the United States to subsidize the biggest infrastructure and capital program that we could have had for Alberta and for Columbia in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, and it's sitting in the Prime Minister's office, and they're diddling with it because they won't know which way to go. I talked to them here. He said, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I said, well, I know it's a good idea. Where are you guys on that? So at the end of the day, they put these hits on this simple infrastructure zone, Grafstein, Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta for the next decade. Steel, technology, science. And he dropped the ball. And the Americans want to subsidize that.
You have been listening to The Life of a Servant, a Dennis Mills podcast. Visit dennismills.com for more information and archived episodes of this program.